You're listening to the Lanterns Radio Network. We are the network dedicated to empowering the individual, illuminating the truth, defending American exceptionalism, and inspiring future generations. Stay connected and get involved at lanterns.buzz for great radio. Get commentary and news of the day. Lanterns.buzz.
Hey, it's Ian Ballinger from the Freestater here on the Lanterns Radio Network. Now, most people listen to the show when it goes up every Friday at 7 p.m. Central Time on Spreaker, SoundCloud, YouTube, or even on your iPhone podcast app. But you can also listen to the show over at lanterns.buzz. That's lanterns.buzz, where the show plays on replay every weekday and weekend at 11 a.m. Central Time. Every day throughout the week, you can listen to the replay of the show on the lanterns.buzz radio stream. Aha! 11 a.m. Central Time and 3 a.m. in the morning. Just fantastic times. If you're driving out late, you can listen to the show. And if you're waking up in the morning, driving to work, going to lunch during work, whatever, show's available for you to listen to right there on replay. That's lanterns.buzz. And while you're over there, I encourage you to check out some of the other great shows that the Lanterns Radio Network has to offer. You've got Bells of Liberty, Todd Huff Radio, Battle for Freedom, Patriot Politics, Defenders of American Exceptionalism, The HoloNet, Fires of Liberty, Battlefield Live, The Conservative Syndicate, and many other special programs. You may have heard back during CPAC even, they did a huge live stream, continuous coverage of CPAC. Go to lanterns.buzz for great content. We're here to fix the machine. Lanterns.buzz. The world's gone mad. This is the Freestater. True conservatism, constitutionalism, may be in the minority now when it comes to the dialogue on political affiliation, but that doesn't mean we stop fighting. We fight for principles over party, values over politicians, and truth over feelings. You've entered a state of freedom. This is the Freestater. Every week when I do this show, I find myself asking, well, Ian, this week, what are you going to talk about? There's a general theme. I want to keep consistent with this show, and we established that theme last week. It is the advocacy for moving along the principles of the 9/12 Project, of constitutionalism, originalism, constitutional originalism, that is, and advocating for free speech on the college campus, in public, anywhere, really. I thought a lot this week. To be honest, and this is going to sound really bad, I'm talking from the heart here. I really just want to be honest. I don't feel any more qualified to talk about the news than anyone else in the world, to be honest. What are my What are my qualifications for talking about the news, right? Or for being a reliable source, I have no doubt that a lot of people would look at somebody as young as me doing a radio show such as this and think, oh, he's just a naive kid. And to be honest, in a lot of ways, I'm not going to deny that. I'm not going to deny that. I am a 20-year-old college student who still has a lot to learn. I like to think that I have a pretty good grasp on life. I like to think that I am knowledgeable about some cultural and political issues. I describe myself as a constitutionalist, libertarian-leaning, conservative, originalist. Most importantly, I describe myself as a follower of Jesus Christ. I guess what I'm trying to establish is that I don't see myself as any more qualified to lead this movement I've been talking about than anyone else. And the reason I talk about it as if it's a movement that needs reignited is because I kind of feel like it does need reignited, because nobody is talking about it anymore. Not even the people that started it. I don't know if you remember, but last week we talked about how the 912 Project's website no longer exists. No longer exists. So, I thought maybe, just maybe, they just forgot to pay the bill. I go to the website again, it's still gone, and that leads me to believe that it is not a priority for the people who established the movement, which is it's a real shame, because a principles-based movement is what the conservative side of the political spectrum is lacking. It's also what colleges are lacking. I mean, you could say that the progressives on campus have their principles in check, but to be honest, they don't. Fear of somebody else's viewpoints isn't a principle. Fresno State students got into a run-in with a professor who was caught on camera scrubbing pro-life messages off the sidewalk that were written in chalk. This professor encouraged several of his students to do the exact same. Professor Gregory Thatcher declares in his video, this is from Campus Reform, the whole idea of free speech is that we have a free speech area on campus. Okay? Free speech is free speech in the free speech area. This does not constitute a free speech area, he claims. College campuses are not free speech areas. Do you understand? Well, I would rebuttal and say, what are you, as a college administrator, a state employee, denying students their free speech, denying students their First Amendment rights? I don't have a problem with college professors being political activists or advocates off the clock. I really don't like it when they get harassing, or when they get borderline violent, or when they do it on the clock. I had a problem with that here at the University of Kansas, where a lot of college professors who are against our campus carry policy that is coming into play this summer didn't like that they were being told that they couldn't express their political beliefs while on the clock. Couldn't express their political stance on the gun issue at KU while on the clock. That shouldn't be an issue. You're a state employee. You're there to do your job. You're not there to try to sway policy. So here's the video of it. This video that was released of Gregory Thatcher declaring that free speech is not allowed on at Fresno State.
Hey guys, you know we have permission for this stuff, right?
We have a teacher that's telling us to get rid of it. Yeah.
What's your teacher's name? You're not sure?
Huh?
So why are you taking them off if we have permission?
Our teacher.
Your teacher told you?
I absolutely, I don't want to be recorded. That's actually pretty illegal. One girl claims it's not illegal. If I'm not mistaken, Fresno State University, it's a state university. It's a public university. It's not illegal. You're in public. It's actually pretty illegal to record me. No, it's actually not.
I don't want to be recorded. That's actually pretty illegal. That's to record people.
That's interesting.
That's taking it too far. But the students that have actual permission from the college to chalk these pro-life messages near the library, who have actual permission to do this, removing their stuff because a professor told you to, that's not taking it too far.
Interesting.
So the video goes on. She walks away from the library and approaches some
All
other...
of this?
Approaches Professor Thatcher.
Excuse me, we have permission for all of this?
No, you don't.
We do actually have the email, and you can call student involvement. From Plan Ops and student involvement, yes.
All right, then
We do. Yes, I am.
That's perfectly fine. Mm-hmm. The whole idea of free speech is that we have a free speech area here on campus.
But we have permission for all of this.
Free speech is free speech in the free speech area. It's a pretty simple concept. Okay?
Well, the free speech area is unconstitutional, so I would suggest that you resign, because you have no place on a college campus if you can't protect your students' rights.
This does not constitute a free speech area.
It does. It does constitute a free speech area. Who are the real fascists here? all Antifa and leftists. I'm sorry you get so heated, but Antifa and the leftists calling the right wing and the free speech advocates fascists. Who are the real fascists? You're trying to silence people's free speech because it's outside of the designated area. This is America. We don't have a designated area for rights.
Okay, but we have permission.
If you have permission, then I will verify that you have permission.
Please do, and then please tell your students to stop until you verify that.
What are my students doing that is not part of free speech?
They told you that they're wiping out what we have permission for.
If you see them wiping it out?
Yes, I did.
Yes, what is this?
Here, let me show you.
You didn't have permission to record. I don't want to be
Okay, let's make it really clear, because I absolutely hate it. I hate it when people throw this, you can't record me. It's illegal to record me without my permission. Well, actually, no, it's not. And you don't have an argument against what they're saying. That's the point. That's why you don't want to be recorded. If you're in public and you're doing something that violates somebody else's rights, and you're so confident in doing that, why are you afraid to be recorded? Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but according to all of these sources I'm reading from these law sites and all, it's only unlawful if they have a reasonable expectation of privacy. But if you're in public, at a public university, in the middle of the sidewalk, scrubbing down a pro-life message that, by the way, the student administration or whatever gave permission for them to chalk into the sidewalk, and you're scrubbing that away, you do not have a reasonable expectation of privacy. So, no, you have no argument there. I'm sorry.
I have permission to put it down.
Yes,
I have permission to get rid of it.
Well, that's not actually how that works. But
Good to know.
This is our part of free speech. Do you disagree with our part of free speech?
Absolutely, I disagree.
Really?
And you disagree with mine too.
No, I don't. If you would have written this over there, I have perfectly fine with you doing it. I am perfectly fine with you having a free speech in a free speech area.
Oh, so he's only perfectly fine with you having free speech if you do free speech in areas that are okay with him. See, that's the entire crux of this leftist thing. That's the entire crux of the whole big government thing. Who gets to decide what rights you get to practice and where you get to practice them. It's going to be different for every person. It's going to be different for every person. So this guy says, I don't like this message. You can go practice your free speech over in that area. You go over to that area. Somebody else says, I don't like this message. You go practice your freedom in that. No, that's not how it works. If you don't like it, you leave. I'm sorry. Or don't be a college professor. Don't be a state employee.
But you're exercising your free speech in a non-free speech area.
College campuses are not free speech areas. You understand?
They are, though. So, the Alliance Defending Freedom, the ADF, their senior counsel, Casey Maddox, stated in Thursday's press release in regards to this video, today's college students will be tomorrow's legislators, judges, educators, and voters. That's why it's so important that university professors model the First Amendment values they are supposed to be teaching to students, and why it should disturb everyone that this Fresno State professor, like so many other university officials across the country, is communicating to a generation that the Constitution doesn't matter, unquote. I'd like to expand upon that. Not only is he teaching his students that the Constitution doesn't matter, but he's teaching them that if it inconveniences you, or if somebody says something that you don't like, we can push them off into a designated corner and exclude them from the rest of the general student populace if they want to practice their rights. That is unacceptable. That is not the goal, or should not be the goal, of higher education. I've made it clear on this show in the past that I'm not a huge fan of Milo Yiannopoulos. I don't like the provocateur mindset. I think he does a lot of things wrong in advancing conservatism and the free speech movement, but at the same time, you have to credit him. He's a great marketer. He does a great job at rallying the troops to his side, and I think he said many things, admittedly, that have made me laugh and have also given me a different perspective on some things. On top of that, he's also said a lot of things that I, from the outset, can personally agree with. Here's an example. College campuses are trying so hard to, quote-unquote, protect students from bigoted speech. Here's something Milo said that we can actually unite on and agree with. Here we go.
Hate speech on.
This is from a speech, or I guess forum is more appropriate because there were 3 other conservative speakers. This was at a forum that Milo Yiannopoulos, I'm sure I always pronounce his name wrong. I'm not doing it intentionally. I do have some respect for what the guy does. He's at least a free speech advocate. We disagree on a lot, but he's a free speech advocate, and I think that's really important, especially on college campuses in today's society. Anyway, this was a forum he did at the University of Massachusetts that he did with Steven Crowder from CRTV. He does Louder with Crowder. And Christina Hoff Sommers, who describes herself as the factual feminist. And even though I've spoken out against the modern-day feminist movement in past episodes, I like a lot of what Christina Hoff Sommers has to say. I assure you, I am still not a feminist. I'm not a feminist at all. Anyway, here's Milo's bit on bigoted speech.
On campus, everyone agrees that bigoted speech is a negative thing. But how do motions like this at our universities fail to actually address the problem of hate speech, and how can they in fact lead to other issues?
No, I don't agree that bigoted speech is always a bad thing. I think it's important to hear from them.
And obviously you hear the outrage from the crowd. There was a pretty large this was for those of you that are in the know, this was the speech that brought forth the Trigglypuff memes. For those of you who do not know, who aren't in the know, I encourage you to go to Google and look up Trigglypuff. In fact, if you look up Trigglypuff, she was such a big part of this speech, you will probably just find the entire speech. It was such a defining moment. It created a meme. The speech created a meme. The speech was kind of the start. I'm not going to say that. It was the reignition, if you will, of this free speech movement on college campuses. We're coming up on the break here. We have about 3 minutes. I'm going to head and play the speech here. He doesn't always think bigoted speech is bad. I'm sorry, Matt. It's like I can't talk right now. It's like I'm having a stroke. Let's go ahead and play it.
What the left wants to do is it wants to enable its extremists on its own side, the sexists and misandrists of the feminism, the black supremacists of Black Lives Matter. They want to enable the extremists on their own side and silence the extremists on the other. Well, I don't like the extremists on either side. Racists, I don't like them and they don't like me. I'm a miscegenatory, gay Jew. They don't like me at all. But what I want to do is give a platform to all speech. I want more speech of all kinds.
And, it's incredible. We see the free speech movement in Berkeley really ramping up, and it's inspiring so many other college students from both sides of the spectrum that just want to be left alone. I would argue that a lot of the students on the right side of the spectrum are really, I know this sounds crazy, are really trying to reach out to their leftist brethren just to start a dialogue at the very least. I mean, for gosh sakes, and I think Milo gets to it later in this video, is that not the entire point of higher education, is to, and I'm quoting him, interrogate new ideas? Why are you going to college if you want to be protected from new ideas? Why are you... I got in so much trouble on Twitter because I tweeted out, if you can't handle speech that offends you, you might not be fit for higher education. People took that as some bigoted attack against people who claim to have PTSD or these disorders or whatever. It's ridiculous. No, obviously that's not what I meant. What I'm saying is that if you can't handle an idea that's different from yours, and when I say handle, let's be really clear. Handle does not mean accept it and say, yes, I'm snapping because there's so many, you're not allowed to clap in college or whatever now. You snap now. Yes, I agree totally. No, that's off. No. Handle, when I say handle, I mean not flip out like you see so many leftists do on campus. We actually have a pretty insane video here from Campus Reform. I'm going to play it before we go back to this Milo video because it ties in to students going absolutely insane, leftist students specifically, over free speech they don't like. We got 30 seconds, going to play this, and then we're going to go to the break. This is her tearing up a Trump sign in the middle of the court at college.
This is what happens when you don't take your meds.
You're listening to the Lanterns Radio Network. We are the network dedicated to empowering the individual, illuminating the truth, defending American exceptionalism, and inspiring future generations. Stay connected and get involved at lanterns.buzz for great radio. Get commentary and news of the day. Lanterns.buzz.
Hey, it's Ian Ballinger from the Freestater here on the Lanterns Radio Network. Now, most people listen to the show when it goes up every Friday at 7 p.m. Central Time on Spreaker, SoundCloud, YouTube, or even on your iPhone podcast app. But you can also listen to the show over at lanterns.buzz. That's lanterns.buzz, where the show plays on replay every weekday and weekend at 11 a.m. Central Time. Every day throughout the week, you can listen to the replay of the show on the lanterns.buzz radio stream. Aha! 11 a.m. Central Time and 3 a.m. in the morning. Just fantastic times. If you're driving out late, you can listen to the show. And if you're waking up in the morning, driving to work, going to lunch during work, whatever, show's available for you to listen to right there on replay. That's lanterns.buzz. And while you're over there, I encourage you to check out some of the other great shows that the Lanterns Radio Network has to offer. You've got Bells of Liberty, Todd Huff Radio, Battle for Freedom, Patriot Politics, Defenders of American Exceptionalism, The HoloNet, Fires of Liberty, Battlefield Live, The Conservative Syndicate, and many other special programs. You may have heard back during CPAC even, they did a huge live stream, continuous coverage of CPAC. Go to lanterns.buzz for great content. We're here to fix the machine, lanterns.buzz. Okay, welcome back to the program. That last video was, again, from Campus Reform. I encourage you to go check out campusreform.org for all of their videos. They are leading the charge, in my personal opinion, on exposing the absolute insanity that has plagued the modern-day college campus across the United States. campusreform.org. Now, we go back to this Milo Yiannopoulos speech at the University of Massachusetts. Again, this was all the way back in April 2016. It's amazing to me how much worse things have gotten on the college campus, especially with the rise of Antifa, but they don't talk about Antifa in this video because they weren't as large, and you get the idea. Anyway.
I'll explain to you in one very simple example why that's the case. And a very successful example of this was the British National Party in the UK, which unlike UKIP, for instance, which is a perfectly respectable mainstream party, the British National Party was a racist party led by a very odious character called Nick Griffin. Now, for a long time, the British National Party was doing very well, out of anxiety about, understandable, I think, anxiety about immigration and the changing nature of local communities. Lots of people started voting BNP in Britain. Now, these people weren't racist and bigots. They were voting out of anxiety and frustration. So here's what happened. Here's what happened when the media embargo, if you like, was lifted on the leader of the BNP. Nick Griffin appeared on the BBC's Question Time for 1 hour. This was at a time in which the BNP was controlling some local councils. They had successfully stood for election and won overall control of some local councils in Britain. Quite an extraordinary and not a particularly proud moment in British history. But the day Nick Griffin appeared on Question Time, and the BBC was criticised mercilessly for giving this guy a platform. This is hate speech, this is bigotry, he's a racist, how dare you put this man on TV. The BNP...
Oh, that was a clever one.
What happened, of course, as anyone with any brains would be able to predict, was that the BNP evaporated. When British people saw what the guy who ran this party was really like, they stopped voting for that party. A couple of years later, the BNP is no longer a force in British politics. This is why it isn't just important to give platforms to ordinary speech, it's important to give platforms to all speech. Because sunlight is the best disinfectant, and the best way to deal...
Absolutely.
The best way to deal with people that you don't agree with, whether they are conservatives or progressives, is the full glare of the spotlight, because you should have the confidence in your own opinions, and you should have the fortitude and courage to believe that you can beat them in a fair, open marketplace of ideas. And if you believe those things...
Absolutely right.
If you believe those things, you have nothing to fear from any speaker.
Amen. Absolutely.
I completely agree, and I would say to...
The next voice speaking is Christina Hoff-Sommers, the factual feminist.
Those of you here who are screaming out and preventing us from finishing sentences, if we are such dangerous people, then let us speak. The more we speak, that should become apparent. My fear is that you believe the more we speak, the more,
Please save your comments
the more reasonable we will sound, and people will realize that there has been censorship on this campus. There's no intellectual diversity, and an institution. If an institution of higher learning, like this, a great university like this, if it changes its mission from intellectual inquiry to safety and making people feel comfortable, it will lose its reason for being. Since the time of Socrates, there was debate. And if you are a superior debater, ask a question.
You know, you hear all the people trying to drown them out in the background. You don't see conservatives going to feminist or progressive speeches and trying to get them kicked off campus or drown them out. In fact, just recently at the University of Kansas, Kat Block was invited to speak. And Kat Block is kind of a racist. I'm sorry, and I know you can't be racist against white people. You can. You can be racist against white people. That's an absolute... It's racist to say you can't be racist against white people. It implies that white people are different than black people. It implies that black people are different than white people. Kat Block, who says, every time I hear you're racist against white people, or racism goes both ways, I just, quote, chortle a little bit. You're not listening, are you? Well, no, I'm not. Why? Yes, I am listening, and I hear you saying that white people can't be racist. I mean, she's released videos on her own YouTube account where she says that there are certain songs that white people shouldn't be allowed to sing because they're exclusively for black people. Is that not racist? Or she believes that white people can't have dreadlocks because it's appropriating black culture. So you're saying something is exclusively for your race, that would be racist. Anyway, let's continue with the UMass speech. I just find it incredible that people like Kat Block are invited to speak, but Ben Shapiro, Milo, Christina Sommers, who describes herself as a feminist, albeit not a modern-day third-wave feminist, but still, and no, they'll laugh that off. Anyway, let's continue.
All right, we get it. You're angry. Daddy never hugged you enough. Come on. Let me give you an example right here.
Okay. That's the voice of Steven Crowder.
Okay, right now. This girl right here just yelled out that we were all racist. What? You just said you're not a girl? Do I start to use Z, the gender neutral? What's up? Yeah, what's up? You just yelled out that all of us were racist. And then you asked a question. And the question was... There you go. It sounded better when you were yelling it with the chorus.
Okay, so the question, if you couldn't hear it, the question was, why are there only white people on your panel? And this is something that I've noticed and something that I think needs to be discussed. This is something I've noticed in a lot of college classes and on college campuses and from college students, that they have a problem with white people expressing their opinions. I'm sorry, if you're a, quote, cis white male, your opinion on a college campus is disregarded. Or it's not regarded as highly as the opinion of a minority or a female. That is both racist and sexist. If you're a cis white male, you aren't generally liked on college campuses. And this girl saying, why are there only white people on your panel, is proof positive of that. Let's see how Mr. Crowder responds.
The backdrop. Let me explain. Okay, can I answer your question? Do you want an answer? Would you like an answer? Here's what's... No, you don't know the answer, sweetheart. Let me answer it for you. Listen, you have...
Now, that's the thing. They just keep yelling. These people don't want to have the dialogue. They say they want to have people when Cat Block came to KU were saying, we need to have these discussions on race. Okay, I don't disagree. We need to have discussions. Yes, we need to try to unite. We need to try to reach across the aisle to each other. Totally agree with that. But here's the thing. You are not actually interested in having a real discussion. Leftists never seem interested in having a legitimate, peaceful, civil, sit-down, let's talk discussion or forums like this, because when people like Steven Crowder, like Milo, like Christina Hoff Sommers, like Ben Shapiro, like Glenn Beck, like Prager, come to a college, Matt Walsh even, come to a college and try to have these dialogues, they get shouted down, or students go up to the front of the room where they're trying to speak or answer Q&A questions and yell, safety, 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 which means nothing. They're yelling nothing to drown out people that are trying to unite other people. It's ridiculous. Anyway, let's continue with the video.
Right here on this panel, you have a gay British Trump supporter, okay? You have a lifelong registered Democrat, open feminist, who's not a third-wave feminist, and you have a French-Canadian Christian conservative. So you may ask, why is there only white people? Because the only diversity you don't care about is that of intellectual diversity.
Right! Yes, yes!
Please be seated.
One second.
Then he makes a good point. The only diversity that college students and college administrations seem to care about, even in the most rural of places like the University of Kansas, at times seem to care about, is diversity of race. And I'm sorry, but I would have liked to believe we were past that. We're not. It's leftists pushing that it's race that's important, rather than content of character, or rather than ideas. It's a college. It's a university. It's supposed to be an institute of higher education. It's supposed to be a place where diverse thought and ideas are able to congregate. And where not all thought is accepted or treated equally. Because some thoughts, well, yeah, I'm listening to what you have to say, student. It doesn't make much sense, though. Let's see if we can learn some more. Oh no, that would be hate speech. You're disregarding somebody else's experiences. Intellectual diversity it's of no interest to the modern day college. That's part of the 912 project. I think it is, at least from my interpretation of it. We got to reignite the free speech and the passion of intellectual diversity on the college campus, on the university campus. We got to take our universities and places of higher education back.
Please take a seat. Please take a seat until the discussion is over. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the applause. You can continue doing that to drown them out if you need to. The final thing I want to say, please zip it, okay? For a second. Listen, you spoke, I gave you the right to have a question, and now let me finish answering. No, you don't. You don't have the right without me giving it to you.
Excuse me.
Let me finish the point. Okay, let me finish the point. These people who are yelling out, the reason they are so angry, the reason they are so incapable of hearing this is because, unlike you, the people who are conservative, intellectual thinkers, you've heard all of their opinions before. From every single mainstream news outlet, from every single film that's been made in the last 20 years, from every single professor. This is the first time they're hearing these points of view. That should be a stark contrast and tell you who's thinking for themselves.
I want to come back on something. Another reason. Let me suggest another reason why people of colour, to use the left's preferred expression, are sometimes a little reluctant to express libertarian or conservative points of view. And I'll tell you something that happened to me at American University a few days ago. Guy lined up for the Q&A, very politely, black guy. He said, I was physically threatened by Black Lives Matter on my way in here, just for coming to hear you speak. And if you don't believe me, it's on camera. He was...
Wait, hold on. Did she just change your mind?
What?
Did she just change your mind? I think I felt a shift because she yelled out.
Yes, she interrupted me with a bogus buzzword, I'm convinced. And what he said to me was, what do I say? What do I say to black people who have bought into this nonsense when I just want to go about my business listening to a talk? And I said to him, well, they are guilty of the worst kind of racism. They're guilty of the kind of racism they're guilty of the kind of racism that suggests all black people must think alike. They are guilty of the kind of racism that
Excuse me, Senator, thank you for your enthusiasm. If you'd please be seated. Thank you.
They're guilty of the kind of racism that suggests that all black people must think the same. They're just in the same way that people who have problems with me being a gay conservative are guilty of a sort of homophobia, a real homophobia, which actually does delegitimize and belittle a particular group and sort of put them in a box. And he said, well, what do I say to these people? And I said, well, look, here's what you say to them. You go out, you calmly and politely, you say, if you believe that the civil rights struggle matters at all, if you believe that the fight to allow black people to have their voices heard, to have an equal footing with whites in this country, if you believe in the restitution and reparations after slavery, if you believe that it is an important goal to hear black voices, hear mine. Because not every black person agrees with Black Lives Matter. Not every gay person believes in the gay lobby. Not every woman is a feminist. And this kind of identitarian politics that we heard from the front, that crucifies people who step outside of their racial or sexual groups because they have the wrong ideology, is the worst sort of bigotry. And those people... And if you're wondering why people of color are sometimes scared, not scared in the way social justice warriors pretend to be scared because a conservative is on campus, but black people are actually scared because somebody got assaulted at American University the other day. If you are wondering why there aren't more people of color standing up for these sorts of opinions, you might want to pull out a mirror.
Absolutely love that. Absolutely love that. And he makes a fascinating point that will lead into our next video. This video comes from a YouTube channel called Jason A. Don't know much about this YouTube channel, but he made an incredible video called Tim Allen Exposes What's Going On in Hollywood. Now, for those of you who do not know, Tim Allen had his show Last Man Standing canceled despite really good ratings, especially, and let's be clear, Friday night is a terrible night for TV shows, so despite great ratings on a Friday night, ABC's canceled Last Man Standing after 6 seasons. This was confirmed on Wednesday from Deadline. The sitcom's been praised by a lot of conservative groups as kind of a conservative show in a sea of, Modern Families and ESPNs and all the other drivel that the Walt Disney Company has been putting out, because they own ESPN, they own ABC. So people, is there an alternative motive to them canceling it? What network cancels a show that appeals to a conservative audience, which is really rare for network television, right? It's really rare for the middle of America to feel connected with the show. A lot of shows now, like Modern Family, just appeal to the coasts because it's their ideals on screen. Well, Last Man Standing was middle America's ideals on screen, and it got really good ratings on a night where it shouldn't be getting really good ratings. And it gets canceled. Well, did it get canceled because Tim Allen's a conservative? We'll go into that video next in our last segment.
You're listening to the Lanterns Radio Network. We are the network dedicated to empowering the individual, illuminating the truth, defending American exceptionalism, and inspiring future generations. Stay connected and get involved at lanterns.buzz for great radio. Get commentary and news of the day. Lanterns.buzz.
Welcome, Kmart shoppers. Kmart has low discount prescription prices. Visit our pharmacist today and compare our prices to what you're presently paying elsewhere. You'll be glad you did.
Final segment of the show. You're listening to Freestater from the plains of Kansas. I'm Ian Ballinger here on the Lanterns Radio Network. This video from the YouTube channel Jason A. Don't know much about him. Don't consider this an endorsement of him, but I do encourage you to go check out his video. Tim Allen exposes what's going on in Hollywood, because it's a great video that compiles a lot of what's wrong with Hollywood, and kind of, I guess, might shed some light on why Last Man Standing might have been canceled. Here we go.
You went to the presidential inauguration, right?
I was invited by, we did a VIP thing for the vets, and went to the Veterans Ball, and so I went to go see the Democrats and Republicans. Yeah, I went to the inauguration.
I'm not attacking you.
You get this now. I'm not kidding. You got to be real careful around here. You know, you get beat up. If you don't believe what everybody believes, this is like 30s Germany. I don't know what happened. If you're not part of the group, you know what we believe is right. I go, well, I might have a problem with it. I'm a comedian. I like going on both sides.
What about Tim Allen? You're one of the few conservatives in Hollywood. What the viewers may not know, you have to go underground. It's very rare for somebody to come out.
The head of a Hollywood public relations firm telling the Wrap, quote, "If you're climbing that studio ladder or haven't become a big star yet, you're probably not going to be very hesitant to support Trump. These people are afraid because their bosses are very likely Hillary Clinton supporters."
What I find odd in Hollywood is that they didn't like Trump because he was a bully. But if you had any kind of inkling that you were for Trump, you got bullied for doing that. Mm-hmm. And that's where it gets a little hypocritical to me, is that you can now bully people, and you're always on the defense with this. You mentioned, the number of liberals in Hollywood. There's a lot of them who are in very powerful positions. I think there's a lot of people who are probably not liberal who pretend they are. And there's a lot of conservatives who pretend they're not. And that's a very sad thing.
Clint Eastwood saying, Joanne, your generation is a generation of pussies.
Here's the quote. Everybody's getting tired of political correctness. Kissing up. That's the kiss I'm sorry to use that word. Generation we're in right now. Everybody's walking on eggshells. He adds, we see people accusing people of being racist and all kinds of stuff. When I grew up, those things were not called racist.
And you think if you're conservative in the entertainment industry that you don't have to learn to keep your mouth shut, that's just not the case.
But Hollywood, there is a group of people in Hollywood that are conservative, but by the nature of the word itself, they're just reticent to speak out. And they're reticent because they feel that they'll maybe lose work or they'll be chastised in some way.
Let's see what else Tim Allen's worried about. He's got a problem with private companies snooping on people.
If a government drove by down the street with like a gray sedan with a camera on it, you'd be rioting, going to Washington. But if it's white with emojis and Google on it, yay, you're waving at it. They're taking pictures of your house.
We're moving toward almost a fascistic political correctness, in which you have to have one view in Hollywood, you have to have another in Wall Street, and another in Washington.
You know, I live in L.A., and I'm in the belly of the beast, so why not punch it every now and then?
You, my little hail of ice.
By 1997, Allen had conquered Hollywood.
Tim Allen is one of Hollywood's biggest stars, and his hit show, Last Man Standing, returns for its now...
I don't think you should ride that motorcycle anymore.
Is this because of Obamacare?
I'd like to blame Obama because literally everything's his fault. Well, you do get some pushback from the dictators out there, Kim Jong-un, the Castro brothers, Obama. Wow. Hillary Clinton's asking us for money. Will her string of mistakes never end?
Well, you see the examples there on how it would appeal to the middle America crowd. Let's continue.
Part of the reason why we are so divided as a country nowadays. I mean, you can't say anything without being labeled something as a result. You can't have an honest conversation about radical Islamic extremism without being labeled an Islamophobe. You can't have a conversation. You can't say that all lives matter all inclusively without being labeled a racist.
So later on in the video, they cite a transcript from the show where Mike, Tim Allen's character in the show, is insistent on delivering a microaggression-inducing speech and reads it to his wife, Vanessa, who's played by Nancy Travis. The speech reads, "Some whiny babies might not think so, but in America, if you work hard, anyone can be successful." Vanessa warns the thought police are never going to improve this speech. To which Tim Allen says,
It actually gets less scary the better you know it. He's like the Obama of calamari. He figures everybody should get it, even if they're too lazy to order it for themselves.
He says, you know who else wouldn't approve the speech they want me to give? Me, Mike replies. And God, who I'm also not allowed to mention, but I do.
He'd rather discuss quantum physics than box office numbers.
Whether you're a true believer or a pagan.
Deeply religious or spiritual you are.
Well, if you know me, you know it. I don't push it. I just want a relationship with whoever built me. This is too much, too weird that it happened by accident. It didn't happen by accident. I don't feel it did.
And really, the movie being about an evangelist who stands up for what he believes in. And of course,
what is it like to be an outspoken conservative?
It's hard. I've been ostracized. I've had my agents drop me. It's difficult.
That's the voice of Stacey Dash.
But that's okay.
And we skipped ahead in the video. I encourage you to go to this guy's YouTube channel, Jason A. Tim Allen Exposes What's Going On in Hollywood, and watch the video.
I don't care.
None of these hardcore liberals in Hollywood, well, what do they say to you?
They say there's not enough to go around. They say, Republicans are racist, homophobic, and there's not enough to go around. You can't go on television saying, the American dream can be achieved by everyone. You can't say that. That's not true.
That's wrong.
Yeah, that's the wrong thing to say.
According to them, at least. And I think it's incredible because it touches on, isn't it interesting? Does it not feel like kind of that there is an attack on conservative voices in the media? First you have Bill O'Reilly, and who I really don't know if Bill O'Reilly did what the accusers say he did. Don't know. I do find it really interesting that right after they accuse Sean Hannity of something, and then Tim Allen's show gets canceled. On top of that, you have conservatives being ostracized by professors on college campuses, Christians having their pro-life messages scribbled out and being told, yes, you're not allowed to do that here. This isn't a free speech area. No, it is not easy to be a conservative in America. It's also not easy to love the people that are ostracizing you. I encourage my fellow conservatives and my fellow Christians not to fall into the same trap our leftist brethren have fallen into. Love each other, respect each other, and fight for principles over personality. This has been The Free Stater. I'm Ian Ballinger on the Lanterns Radio Network.
You're listening to the Lanterns Radio Network. We are the network dedicated to empowering the individual, illuminating the truth, defending American exceptionalism, and inspiring future generations. Stay connected and get involved at lanterns.buzz. For great radio, get commentary and news of the day. Lanterns.buzz.